Hello everyone and welcome back to a second episode of Warcry 2.0, reviewing the Nurgle models this time, so the Rockbringers of Nurgle. I know many of you had great hopes or have great hopes for this faction. I mean it can't really fall lower than it is already, so all we can hope for from this book is for an improvement, right? That's what I thought. And then I looked at their first new model. Anyways, before diving into the models right away, I would like to share how this video is going to be. First off, we're going to take a look at all of the models and their damage output and survivability in terms of point value as well. And after that, we're going to talk about the new abilities they get. And last but not least, we'll have a look at a list I come up with, and which might be one of the more optimized lists possible. So, what is the model I was talking about? Well, the Blight King with shield. I think this might be the hottest garbage in Warcry. So, I did a top 3 worst units in Warcry video in the past, and if I would do it again, he'd probably be on top. 145 points. That is quite expensive. What does he get? Well, movement 3, toughness 5, so very tough, 25 wounds. For 145 points, toughness 5 and 25 wounds is good. Movement 3 is not. He has an attack range of 1, 2 pitiful attacks at strength 4 for 2/4 damage, putting him at a measly 2.7 damage per average on average per activation, and that is absolutely garbage. That's low, that's trash tier infantry, and yeah, for 145 points at 3 movement, great stuff, amazing. Love the Blight King with shield. Anyways, moving on. Now we've got new leader options, and these are kind of more interesting somewhat because they bring new abilities and so on. So let's see what we get there. First off, we've got the Lord of Blights. He is 210 points, so again quite expensive, 20 points more expensive than the Blight King leader we originally had. 3-inch move, slow again of course, toughness 5, 32 wounds. So far the toughest model, oh no, the Blight Lord was tougher than him. Anyways, 32 wounds, toughness 5, insanely hard to kill. But he'll probably never get into a position where anyone cares to kill him because 3-inch movement. 1-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2/5 damage output. Not great. 4.5 damage on average for a model that costs 210 points. It's not amazing. And then we've got the Lord of Afflictions. He costs 290 points, but he's the one riding on the big plague fly, so his movement is 6. He's basically the leader or the champion of the Pascoil Blight Lord. So yeah, again 35 points more expensive, but you do get 45 points more expensive, but you do get that movement 6, 4 wound, toughness 4 and 42 wounds, which is the highest toughness in the entire warband. A range of 2 on his attacks, strength 4 for attacks, 3/5 damage. So 3/5, that's some considerable damage. 3 is a pretty high for base damage, so he comes in at 7.4 damage on average, which is very good. So at least he's dealing some decent damage, even though he costs a lot of points. Then we've got the Rockbringer Sorcerer. So he's just a normal Nurgle Sorcerer, costs 165 points, so relatively cheap for a leader. Movement 3, of course, toughness 3, so in Nurgle terms very squishy. 22 wounds, that's good. but he's got the normal mage staff attack, so 7-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 3, damage 3/6. So that's bad. We've talked about it in the past, it's just not good. So 3.1 damage per activation on average, yeah, garbage. We'll have to see what the abilities are like to be able to tell which of these lords are good, of course. And we've got the Lord of Plagues. As far as I'm aware, he does not have any special abilities apart from the normal one he gets for being a leader. 205 points, so 5 points cheaper than the Lord of Blights. 3-inch move, toughness 4, 32 wounds. Yeah, so 1 toughness less than the Lord of Blights, but still very, very survivable. 1-inch range, 3 attacks, oops, sorry, 3 attacks, strength 5, 3/5 damage. As I said, 3 is high for base damage, and when you're hitting at strength 5, that means that a lot of your hits are going to connect, and when they connect, they're going to deal 3 damage at least. So that's quite juicy. 7.1 damage on average. I think for a 205 point model, he isn't horrible. Again, though, 3-inch move is horrible, so there's that. And then we've got the Harbinger of Decay. He's the guy riding on a horse. I think the only model available for him is an old resin one or something. And he's 195 points. I don't want to call him cheap because he's definitely not cheap, but he's cheaper than some of the other hero choices. 6-inch movement, so that is good. And he's the cheapest 6-inch movement piece for Nurgle. Toughness 4, 25 wounds, so yeah, still very survivable. 2-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 4, 2/4 damage. That is not great. That is again rather pitiful in terms of damage. So what you do get for 195 points is a relatively mobile model. However, he does have the mounted rune mark, so he can't climb, which again makes him a lot less useful than the Blight Lord or so on. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. Let's have a look at some things. First off, let's put the damage per point values and their survivability into perspective. So the Blight King with shield, as you would expect, that's bad damage per point value. Not surprising at all there, he only has 2 attacks and costs a lot of points. He is very hard to kill. He's in the top tier point values in terms of survivability, and there's actually very few fighters in the entirety of Warcry that are in this kind of point value here. So that's good. Then we've got the Lord of Blights. Much better damage, but not great. He's quite expensive, very expensive actually, 210 points. So the damage per point value is below average, of course. His survivability also is great because he's also toughness 5 with his shield and so on. That's how Warcry works. So he's very survivable, but yeah. A Lord of Afflictions, so the one riding on the fly, he has a lot higher damage output, and at least that puts him on average damage per point value, which, looking at his relatively high mobility and lots of activations to be killed, is actually not that bad. So I think the Lord of Afflictions, it doesn't look too bad from here. And we've got the Rockbringer Sorcerer. Obviously bad damage output, not great survivability. If his ability isn't amazing, I don't see any reason to bring him. Then we've got the Lord of Plagues. Again, as I said, his damage output is good for the point cost, and obviously tough to take down as well. But that's true for most Nurgle models. And then we've got the Harbinger of Decay, so the guy on the horse. His damage output is not great for his points cost. However, he's also relatively survivable, although not as much as most of the others. And obviously he does get that 6-inch movement. So what new abilities do we have? Well, we have Lord of Blights. So this guy with the shield, he can throw 2 dice at one enemy in 6-inch range, and on a 4+ he deals 1 damage, on a 6+ it's damage equal to the value. That's a very standard ability that a lot of warbands have, and for a leader especially, I don't think it's worth it at all. So he's a no for me, because all he has is survivability, and what you really don't need is survivability. Then we've got the Sorcerer. He has a double as well, which is you throw a number of dice equal to the value of the ability, and at an enemy at 8-inch range, I think it was, and each 5-up is 1 damage, and the enemy gets -1 toughness for the entire battle round. Also not great. Honestly, I think the Sorcerer is complete trash. So that's 2 out of 2 lords we've looked at so far that are bad. Let's see about what else we've got. Well, we've got the triple that all lords, all leaders for this warband used to have, which is add 1 strength to all allies within 6 inches. And that's still the same. I talked about that. I don't think it's good. I think the +1 attack ones that many other warbands get are way better. Then we've got a triple for the Harbinger of Decay, Harbinger, yeah, for the Harbinger of Decay. He gets a bonus attack, and he reduces the movement of the target by 1 for the entire game. So should you get this off turn 1, say against another very slow model that's only movement 3, then you essentially take them out of the game, because at movement 2 he's not ever going to get anything done in Warcry. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's not great. Definitely not great. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be surprised when I say this, but I don't feel like Nurgle has improved that much. Now, I know everyone can take allies, and I looked at all the allies because I want to make Nurgles work, but there is literally not a single ally that I think is worth the points. Nurgle is already very point spend heavy, and there's no allies in the Chaos books that give you extra movement, which is really what you would need. The only one being the Sloppity Bolt, what is it? Something Piper from Nurgle Demons. But he doesn't help because he only gives +1 to the movement, which is the same that your bell ringing guys can do, and they cost less. So no reason to bring him at all. Yeah, I don't feel like Nurgle has improved much. So let's see what list I would bring. In the past I said I would probably get one Pascal Blight Lord, because he has movement paired with the ability to snare someone down. And we have to think about objectives when we think about making our lists. And there is just gonna be objectives that require you to get a single fighter. Maybe he's carrying a treasure and you need to pin him down. Maybe he's just a model that you need to kill. And with the ability to fly, move 6 inches at least, and then on a double make someone stuck so they can't run away from you, is going to be very essential. So when I don't bring a Pascal Blight Lord, that's because I think there's a better option now, which is the Lord of Afflictions. I would bring the Lord of Afflictions now as your leader choice. As I said, movement 6, then that ability to stun someone, and yeah, his damage output is also pretty good, which is admittedly something that Nurgle was lacking before. So I think that's at least a nice bit that they added, that you're at least able to deal some serious damage with your leader. And yeah, as I said, paired with the ability to lock someone down, that's not bad. Well, and then you've got your other 5 guys that you can afford, because you can't afford more than 5. And so I would bring 1 Blight King, 3 Blight Kings with bells, and 1 with banner. Now these all cost roughly the same, so you could switch this up a lot. But I honestly don't think it's horrible to have a Blight King with bell in every battle group. Their ability at least triggers on a double, so it's not unlikely that he'll be able to use it 2 times at least in a battle round. They have the advantage that nowhere in Warcry it ever says that you can't stack abilities, so if one of your guys uses it, and then you use it with the second one, well, any of your other fighters can definitely benefit from both auras. So you could bump your Blight King up to movement 5 or your leader to movement 8 even. It's not going to be great. It's going to be possible. I think with the Lord of Afflictions you can actually maybe win some games. It's going to be an uphill struggle. I'm interested to see where this warband is going to fall on the tier list, and I suspect it's going to be very low again. So I'm very sorry for the ones who hoped that the new books would bring the big change for Nurgle, because I don't think it will. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you tomorrow, and that's it. Rito signing out.